"You're right," Yossarian shouted back. "You're right, you're right, you're right. The hot dog, the Brooklyn Dodgers, Mom's apple pie, that's what everyone's fighting for. But who's fighting for the decent folk? Who's fighting for more votes for the decent folk? There's no patriotism, that's what it is, and no matriotism either." Havermeyer was a lead bombardier who never missed. Yossarian was a lead bombardier who had been demoted because he no longer gave a damn whether he missed or not. He had decided to live forever or die in the attempt, and his only mission each time he went up was to come down alive. What is a country? A country is a piece of land surrounded on all sides by boundaries, usually unnatural. Englishmen are dying for England. Americans are dying for America. Germans are dying for Germany. Russians are dying for Russia. There are now 50 or 60 countries fighting in this war. Surely so many countries can't all be worth dying for. "Anything worth living for," said Nately, "is worth dying for." "And everything worth dying for," answered the sacrilegious old men, "is certainly worth living for." "They are going to kill you if you don't watch out, and I can see now that you are not going to watch out. Why don't you use some sense and try to be more like me? You might live to be 107 too." "Because it's better to die on one's feet than live on one's knees," Nately retorted with triumphant and lofty conviction. "I guess you've heard that saying before." "Yes, I certainly have," mused the treacherous old man, smiling again. "But I'm afraid you have it backwards. It is better to live on one's feet than die on one's knees. That is the way the saying goes." "Are you sure?" Nately asked with sober confusion. "It seems to make more sense my way." "No, it makes more sense my way. Ask your friends." Yossarian was in the Air Force in the second half of World War II, stationed near the Italian coast. Yossarian and his friends are simply seen as replaceable resources by their superior officers. They are thrown carelessly into different battles and bombing runs. Their colonials continuously raise the number of battles they need in order to be sent home so that no one is ever sent home. Yossarian believes that everyone is trying to kill him and takes the whole world personally. He has a strong desire to be immortal and insists that he will die trying. As a result, he spends most of the time faking different illnesses in the hospital. Throughout the entire story, Yossarian is constantly troubled by the memory of Snowden, a soldier that died in Yossarian's arms. The officers constantly volunteer their men for the most intense battles in order to make themselves look good. Catch-22 is defined many times throughout the book. Firstly, Yossarian discovered that you can be discharged from the military service if you are insane. However, if you claim you are insane, then you are sane, because any sane man would claim insanity in order to avoid these crazy missions. Also, Catch-22 is illegal to read. However, it is written that it is illegal to read inside the law. Catch-22 is an illogical circular reasoning law, which is also found in the stories from the characters, which are full of catches and circular reasoning. There are many other secondary stories that unfold in this book. For example, Yossarian's friend Nately is in love with a whore from Rome who is indifferent and has a kid sister that is always in the way. It is not until right before Nately dies that his whore falls in love with him. After hearing the news, she is convinced it was Yossarian's fault and tries to kill him many times. After a while, Yossarian refuses to fly any more missions, but he is later caught and arrested in Rome. He is given an ultimatum. He can either go to court or be sent home on honorable discharge. However, there is a catch. In order to be sent home, he must approve of his superior officer's policy, which requires men to fly 80 missions. A classic novel needs to include morality, truthfulness, universality, timelessness, and effective language. Catch-22 is a classic book because it demonstrates the morality of war, hypocrisy, and superior powers. Through its use of circular reasoning, you realize that superior roles not always benefit the entire group and that sometimes people are selfish and corrupt. You also see many hypocrisies in circular reasoning in the book, which proves beneficial to the superior officers and detrimental to those flying the battles. This again illustrates the morality of superior roles in a group. The book also deals with the morality of war as you see the effects death has on Yossarian. Although Catch-22 seems a little far-fetched at times, you are able to relate it fairly easily to real-life situations. For example, the don't ask, don't tell rule that used to be a big controversy in America. This book is a classic because of its universality as well. Every country has war and conflict. Every system has hypocritical leaders. Catch-22 is timeless because although everyone hopes and prays for world peace, the sad fact is that this world's first instinct is to fight through conflict instead of negotiate. A lot of the world's leaders feel a need to prove that they are better than everyone else, so war will most likely always be relevant. The language used in this book really gets its point across. The themes and conflicts are very well stated in this book, so it has a very large impact on the readers. This book is relevant today because war is a very big part of our world right now, so is violence. In this book, Yossarian gets upset with his superior officers for constantly increasing the number of missions, and this is something that Americans are doing right now. Whenever things go wrong in our society, we tend to naturally blame the leaders. For example, everyone is blaming the government for allowing people to have guns, and everyone is blaming all of the recent shootings and bombings on our long-standing right to bear firearms. This book is also relevant because almost everyone has had or does have a boss or leader who didn't necessarily care for the group, but only did what would benefit themselves.